So my name is Jason Chinnock and I'm the CEO of Ducati North America. We're responsible for US, Canada, and Mexico, and it's an honor for you to join us today to show you some of the new 2023 product lineup from Ducati. The first motorcycle we're going to start with is actually the Scrambler. And the beauty about the Scrambler brand is that it's a product that's allowed us to bring in new clientele. In fact, the Scrambler's original concept started in 1962 with this idea of taking a motorcycle that we would mix different styles so it can be on-road, off-road. And this is actually, Cassie, do you mind doing the pleasure? This is the new Scrambler Nightshift. And the beauty about the Scrambler is that it has a very classic design, yet it's very much a modern motorcycle. And in fact, a lot of the benefits and features, we've actually reduced the weight of this motorcycle by 9 pounds. And we've added a lot of technology that really adds to the ridership experience. And that includes traction control, cornering ABS, and actually different riding modes. Additionally, we shaved, like I said, we shaved the weight off of the motorcycle, and there's a couple different versions of the Scrambler. This being the Nightshift has a little bit of a cafe racer style, but something that's really unique also about the Scrambler is it's the ability for you to be able to personalize the motorcycle. In fact, all of these panels that you see in this beautiful blue are removable, and you can exchange it with different colored panels to put on the motorcycle in order for you to give it a different look. Now the icon itself is the standard, and then with this one being a little bit more personalized already. So moving from the Scrambler family and all of the updates that have been done this year is to one of the most iconic motorcycles in Ducati's lineup. And this is the new Monster SP. The beauty about this next generation Monster is that we actually were able to reduce a significant amount of weight, so 40 pounds off of its predecessor than the previous Monster, but the SP stands for a special production unit. And this is a model that actually has upgraded suspension componentry, both front and rear with the Öhlins. And what this allows is obviously it allows for better handling and performance, whether it be a track or a city environment, but also increased ground clearance. So when you're leaning the motorcycle over really hard, you get the opportunity to be able to experience the full potential. And of course, the livery is stunningly beautiful, which has been inspired from our MotoGP livery that we have on the Desmosedici race bikes. So the new Monster SP is a very, very special bike for us this year, and a way for the Monster owners to have just that little bit extra more, that little edge that they would have over the standard Monster itself. So we are utilizing the Moto E series as being the sole supplier to be able to have this as a rolling R&D lab. Because the reality is that when you build a motorcycle that actually is going to be worthy of wearing the Ducati badge, people have an expectation of what its performance and power and its range is going to be. Quite candidly, the battery technology hasn't developed to the point right now where you can get all three of those, and you end up, the challenge is mostly is that if you want range, you have weight. Range and performance, you have all this excess weight. In fact, the technology is such right now, if you took a motorcycle like the Panigale V2 and you wanted to deliver a similar level of performance, the motorcycle would have to weigh almost twice as much. So unfortunately, that means it's not going to handle correctly, and it's going to be a challenge overall. So our plans are to use that, the Moto E series, as an opportunity for us to be able to learn, develop technologies, and we've done a lot of very innovative things already. Instead of not using standard battery packs, developing our own battery systems, special motors and such, so that we can find ourselves further down the road for a product. There's no fixed time, because quite candidly, it's going to be largely based on when the battery technology will be there. But I also want to be really clear. There's a lot of enthusiasm about electric vehicles. And the reality is that the motorcycling market isn't prepared for it. While there are products that are out there, they really have very little commercial value right now. And while it's nice to have, they actually don't deliver the performance that people expect, especially for something like a Ducati. So we're actually not just looking at electrification, we're looking at other means of alternative energies to be able to reduce our carbon footprint, because our objective is not to check the box of making an electric motorcycle. Our objective is to reduce our carbon footprint. And there are many ways to get there. Electrification is just one, but we know it's a very important thing for us to research, and this is why we're investing so heavily into the Moto E series. So this is one of my favorite models. This is the Multistrada family, and this is the newest generation of the Multistrada, the Multistrada V4 Rally. And what makes this bike so cool is not only the fact that it's a great motorcycle for adventure riding, which a lot of motorcyclists part of getting on a motorcycle is to get on the bike and disappear and go have that experience that maybe you couldn't have normally. But the Rally itself has some significant updates on the motorcycle as well. The Multistrada V4 has been a very, very successful bike for us. And the Rally actually builds off of that success and takes this into the next level of being able to have a motorcycle that you can really ride two up as a globetrotter. So imagine anywhere in the world that you would want to travel and take this motorcycle on that kind of adventure. We've increased the fuel capacity to add an additional 3 gallons to the gas tank. And what's really nice is that we've done that without widening the shape of the bike itself. And it's just done through actually changing the material to an aluminum tank. This is the first production motorcycle that was actually equipped with radar, the Multistrada itself. So it has radar both front and rear, which allows you to have a dynamic cruise control option and also blind spot detection, which is a very nice safety feature. Some of the other updates that have been made to this motorcycle is that it has a much longer travel of suspension, so it can absorb a lot of the bumps that you have when you're taking it off-road. Additional ground clearance for obstacles that you'll be riding over. But very important, especially in a motorcycle like this, is that you have great passenger comfort. It's important that if you're going to be riding with your passenger, you have the ability to give them something comfortable to be able to sit on. And there's a little bit more room that's back here for the passenger, and it gives them the chance to stretch out, along with more adjustments that have been set up to make it even more comfortable for that long distance riding. And one of the things that's really nice about this is that historically Ducatis in the early 2000s had very frequent routine services that were required. We've actually broke the mold with this motorcycle at 37,000 miles, which is actually a new benchmark in the world of motorcycling between valve inspections. The motorcycling population is 1% of the total population of the US. We speak to motorcyclists. We don't speak to any one ethnic group, one gender, somebody's sexual preference. That doesn't matter to us. And this is the beauty about motorcycling, let's say a little bit different than maybe cars. This is a choice we make. People drive a car because they have to. This is entertainment, this is fun. And so we say we care if you're a motorcyclist first. We have that passion, that enthusiasm for what we do, and that easily connects with what we see in Latin markets as well. What makes us different as a motorcycle brand? It's the fact that we challenge ourselves with racing. We love what we do. Being responsible for North America is, you know, if I want to talk to somebody in Chicago and I want to talk to somebody in Miami, they're very, very different markets. Not only the type of riders that come and are attracted to us, but also the different audiences, or even New York. You know, New York, just like Miami, is this melting pot. So we really rely on our local dealer to be able to have the outreach and to be able to connect with the market locally. And we support them with the tools that they need, whether it be in different languages or whatever it is that they need in order to be able to track those audiences. Every one of the dealerships themselves kind of find a way to adapt to their local market, and we provide them the tools to be able to do so. While everybody loves the Ducati Superbike, there's no question that it maybe isn't the best motorcycle to ride on public roads. So we wanted to take that Superbike that you expect from us, the Panigale V4, and everything that we've learned and honed for the racetrack, and put it in a package that you can actually ride on the street. And this is the new Streetfighter V4S. And this is ostensibly a naked Superbike with a standard handlebar on the top, with all of the bodywork removed, and then some additional elements as well to give it that aesthetic of looking like a street fighter itself. It has a very bold, aggressive attitude, but a lot of the refinements that we've done on the Superbike in the course of this last year have been added to the Street Fighter as well, including the refinements of the electronics, adding a new wet riding mode, which hopefully you don't have to do too much of that in Miami, but occasionally you do, but also a new shape of the gas tank. And why is this important? Because actually it's a technology, a very simple technology that we learned from what we were doing in MotoGP that allows the rider to use the lower part of their body, their legs, to hold on under hard braking. It actually prevents the rider fatigue in their upper body as well. The beauty about the suspension is that it's a dynamic suspension. So when you're riding it, it will actually adapt and adjust to the road that you're riding and the environment that it actually is going to be taking on. And you can set it up with a couple different parameters, whether you want it to be more comfortable or you want it to be sportier, where you feel every little drop of the road. I'm going to share with you a new model that is, so we launched the original concept of it many years ago, and it's named the Diavel. It was originally powered by our twin motor that has been very popular for many years, but we knew we needed to evolve the model not only in terms of its performance with the Gran Turismo V4 motor, but also in terms of the design. And the term Diavel is a word that comes from this idea of something very bold. When you say, Diavel, it's almost like saying, that's amazing, or I can't believe what I'm seeing with my eyes. And from a matter of design, it's also very unique. There's nothing really like it in the motorcycling world, because we've actually taken three elements of design and found a way to merge them together. One element is that very much like a super bike with a very narrow pointy tail that comes out in the back here with this rear tire hanging out. The other one is this, we call it the bison back look of the gas tank and this massive weight in the front, which is similar to a standard naked motorcycle like the Monster. And then of course you've got this beautiful, we call it a fly line that comes through very much like a cruiser. So it's the idea of us having a muscle bike or a muscle motorcycle that has a bit of the attitude of a cruiser, but performs like a sport bike, which is unique in the entire motorcycling industry. And of course, a very nice feature that I like as well is a clear delineation between this being a 4-cylinder and its predecessor, the twin, with this almost double-barreled shotgun, like two shotguns on top of each other exhaust. It's almost a bit cheeky and bold in order to be able to show that attitude that comes from a bike like this. The Ducati lineup is also always our super bike. And our family of super bikes are referred to as the Panigale. And the Panigale actually refers to the area of Bologna where we're from, Borgo Panigale. And Borgo means burg or neighborhood. And this specific bike is the new Panigale V4R. And the V4R directly comes from what we've learned in all of the racing in our World Superbike Championship that we just won this year. So this is the first time ever in Ducati's history where we were both MotoGP World Champions and Superbike Champions, and both of the riders are running that #1 plate on their motorcycle, which is, it's gonna be a great year. I mean, we're gonna have to defend that honor, but the #1 is emblazoned on the motorcycle on the front and the sides. And just a couple technical features, because a lot of what's in here is a bike that's really tuned, designed, and developed for the track. This motorcycle, with the exhaust system that you see on it, which is a full titanium exhaust system, and a special oil that we've developed with Shell, will deliver 240.5 brake horsepower, which is absolutely incredible for a motorcycle of this size. I mean, there's never been a production motorcycle that's delivered this kind of power in this package. And we do this because this is a motorcycle that's homologated to be able to let us race for professional racing, both in Moto America, that we have in the US, British Superbike, and also World Superbike globally. Some of the features that you can see are these winglets that are on the front of the motorcycle, which actually help produce a downforce on the front end of the motorcycle in order to keep the front end down under hard acceleration. And then some other elements that have actually been refined on this motorcycle is that the pistons and the connecting rods in the engine have gone through a lot of attention to detail in order to reduce the amount of friction that's in there. We've increased the intake on the lift on the valves for the intake, so it breathes even more. And then something quite unique is our Ducati dry clutch, which we've actually made a much smaller dry clutch in there that delivers the same level of performance, but with reduced weight as well. And while its top power comes out at 16,500 RPM, this V4 will rev all the way up to 16,500 RPM. So 15.5 for top peak power, but it will go that extra 1,000 RPM as well. And of course, as you can expect, we have the full electronic suite that has been refined to be able to match the performance of this motorcycle between traction control, wheelie control, slide control. The engine braking is controllable as well. And I mean, just to give you an idea of the slide control, you're able to go through the motorcycle in a corner when it's set up in the different mode, hit that rear brake and slide the back end around the corner on the track in a very controllable way in order to be able to cut that corner even sharper and get the best lap times as well. But really, this bike, the only place that you can really get the pure performance of this motorcycle is on the racetrack. And so that's really what this is designed and developed for for those people that want to go enjoy themselves at a track. When it comes to business, this is something that's actually been very, I've been with the Ducati brand for almost 20 years now, actually 19 years. And we used to be a brand that was heavily rooted in like the success of one or two motorcycles. That actually has changed dramatically. And it's actually healthier as well, because we don't find ourselves having a good year or a bad year if we've got a competitive bike or not a competitive bike. The beauty about the Ducati lineup is that whether you're riding a Scrambler all the way to the new Panigale V4R or anything in between, we actually sell a very balanced mix of all of this product in the inventory. Of course, there are some motorcycles that are actually more profitable than others, but at the end of the day, those motorcycles that, let's say, are less profitable or a lower price point, they actually are a tool for people to come into our world and to join the Ducati family. And when they do that, then we know that their next bike will be this, and the next bike will be this, and they'll eventually find their way onto a Multistrada or a Diavel V4 or even a Panigale. So the diversity of our product lineup that actually is consistent with our DNA allows somebody to move throughout and evolve, but we don't have any one bike that necessarily dominates. They're all within a couple percentage of each other.